Do you want to grow as a grower? Are you tired of being put to sleep by your educational growcasts? Are you tired of hearing about products you don't fucking want or can't afford? Are you tired of being told how you should grow? Hi, I'm Johnny Apple, and joining me is everyone's favorite amphibian, the Reverend Pirate Frog. Follow along as we sift through the bullshit out there on the internet and challenge ourselves to get better as growers. This is your average grow.
Hey, dude.
Hey, man, so I got another guest for you. Unfortunately, It was probably the worst one I could find, but he's here nonetheless. Green Guy.
Oh, sweet. The
Big
green guy.
Green Guy.
How are you, Mr. Apple? It's very nice to finally get to chat with you online.
It is very nice. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm awesome. I'm glad that Rev is here to referee this and keep us animals in line, because this could completely get out of control with, the amount of love that I have for you all the time.
I've set very clear ground rules. I'm not going to remember any of them, so I'm a ref in theory only.
Well, we'll
Nice.
see where this whole thing goes. We want to start off pleasant, even though I really want to just scream "fuck you, Johnny," but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to play nice and be nice, and I'm going to answer his stupid questions like a gentleman. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at least get your pitch out of the way. At least let the people see you're somewhat of a decent human being before you go balls deep into Johnny.
You're just so easy though.
Yeah, I mean, all right.
There's no challenge. There's really no challenge to that. It just is what it is. It's okay.
It's like T-ball, but
Whack-a-mole.
I'm very excited to have the big green guy on your average grow. We know how busy he is. Literally having as many plants as a human being could possibly fit in an area. The
I can always
photos yeah, that's true. But the photos are awe-inspiring, and I'm just super stoked to have you. And I'm sure Johnny's questions are going to come from a place of love, and I'm sure your answers will too.
Well, I'm super happy to be here. I've been a fan of you guys since you guys first actually came out. I really enjoy listening to the podcast. It's always something new and different, and you guys have this entertainment value there, but also every now and then there's a snippet of information that is valuable. Not usually from Johnny, but most of the time it's from one of your guests.
It's almost always the guest.
The last episode with Howling Buds and Stony Alpinist was awesome because Johnny hardly talked at all through it, so that was just fantastic.
I knew you were going to enjoy that one.
I figured it'd be your favorite. That's actually why we started having guests on in the first place. Is to say that we provide any education is laughable, but to say that we have people on that provide the education is something I can live with. So I want to get the first thing out of the way. You
Sure.
sent me some funeral desserts to grow. And I've got that lined up in the queue, but I also sent 2 of those seeds over to Kotz, who also has those lined up in his grow. And you told me, because I know that you told me that it was your baby. So before we go any further, I selfishly want to get that question answered first. What is so amazing about funeral desserts?
What is so amazing? So
I know that's a terrible question.
it is. I expected that from Johnny actually. So it's not a terrible question. Okay, there are no terrible questions, only terrible people. Remember
Amen.
that. And so it's I call it my baby because it was my first project I ever did. It was a project that I created for my wife to help with her anxiety. It has a lot of medicinal effects to it. If taken in moderation, you can still function. But then if you take it a little bit further, it's going to, really relax you and, put you down. I've never had it tested, so I don't know what it actually tests at as far as THC and terpene profile and things like that. It kind of has more of a fruity, gassy flavor to it. but it's definitely more of a daytime if you want it to be, and then if you want it also, it can be a nighttime. So I really like that about it, and seeing how it has come and helped my wife. Uh, that's everything to me. I don't care if anybody else likes it, to be honest. Um, a lot of other people have come back and said they love it. It's one of their favorites. Um, so it's my baby because it was my first cross that I ever made, and I think the reasoning behind it uh, is really why it holds a special place.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to run it, and especially because that sounds just amazing. The ability to switch from daytime and with a little more use, have the perfect nighttime too, is always a benefit.
Yeah,
This is what's the lineage on this one? This is one you created?
yes. So I started it. It's Bobby's widow was the male, and the female was strawberry cheese. So I had a strawberry cheesecake that was just frosty as all get up, and it was a good size. Everything was like looking really really nice about it. It's one that I'd grown out before, and my wife really really liked it. And along with the Bobby's widow, I had grown that out before, and she really liked the combination of the two. Um, so sometimes when I'm trying to figure out, if I feel something will cross well together, I grow out the plant first. I want to see characteristics. I want to see, all right, what's the high like? What's the flavor like? What's all these? I want to know what it's like for myself. Um, and then if I like all those kind of things, I'll grow out a bunch more, and that's when I'll pick one of those to actually breed with. Because in the F1 generation, I'm not looking for a ton of seeds. I just want enough so that I can hunt through to get that second generation. And that's where I'll grow a lot more, because in that second generation, you see a huge variety of expression. And the funeral desserts I've actually brought to an F4 before I feminized it. So I wanted to, I kept it at F3 for a long time, like I would say probably 18 months, which doesn't seem like a very long time. In the breeding world, that's a long
Yeah,
time.
in your world, that's forever.
These plants only go 65, 70 days typically. So that's only 2 months. And that's from the time you plant the seed. So I can grow a lot of different plants out consecutively doing that. And I wasn't seeing anything that I really wanted to bring forward until I finally did. And they were just, I don't know, something a little different about the two, the male and the female that I picked. And they seemed to really meld really well together to bring it to the F4. And then the expressions I was seeing in F4, I was extremely happy with, and that's why I decided, you know what, I'm going to feminize this, because a lot of people want to feminize seeds. People have been asking, and speaking with some other people in the industry, they're like, yeah, people want, especially with autoflowers, they want the feminine. They want to know, I'm planting this direct into a pot, it's going to be a female. So, once I had the first generation of the feminized seeds, I sent it out to my testers so they could grow a bunch of them out. And they were all getting very similar results. So that's when I knew, you know what, I'm going to bring this forward again. I tested those things out, sent them out to a bunch of testers, and that's when I felt I was ready to actually release them.
So you brought your F4s feminized, and then you did what with those? You took.
I reversed. It's basically like an F2. So it's not technically a selfing, because I reversed one plant and pollinated another plant with it. So like in photo periods, you can take a clone and then you can literally self the plant. So you're having it screw itself.
Right.
Can't do that with an auto. You can. I could reverse just a few branches and then pollinate the rest of the plant. But I was able to pick out a couple, because they were pretty uniform at the first generation of the feminized. I was able to pick two of them out that were very similar and combine them, which I've seen really good results on them. I'm very happy with it. So,
what's your process in reversing? Do you use STS or colloidal silver?
yes,
How do you do it?
I use silver thiosulfate.
Okay.
I mix the solution up, and then I store the concentrate in the refrigerator. I take what I need to mix up the solution. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you spray something and maybe the solution isn't strong enough. So you have to basically start again. And because once you get past a certain point, it's almost too late to try to reverse it. You can reverse some lower branches sometimes if you're really looking to save that particular genetic, but it doesn't always work. I try
Right.
to, so I'll spray it right when it shows tech, and then every 3 days for the next 21 days. So it gets a total of 7 sprays.
And
By the
then you just
time,
start seeing it developing balls.
typically by the time I've sprayed it the 5th time, it's showing male parts.
Okay, cool.
When
Not
you
always, like I said, but
when you self a plant, do you do the whole plant or do you do just branches?
it depends on the generation.
If okay,
So
if you
if I'm
were
doing,
sorry,
sorry,
it's a two-part question. I'm sorry.
sure.
I'm just getting in the groove now. I rushed home from work so that I could do this interview with the big green guy because he's such a great dude. Um, um,
Why is
so
Johnny
when
laughing?
I don't know, he's saw something funny. When you do it personally, what do you do? And if you're recommending, like, if you're going to tell me, Reverend, when you do your plant, I would recommend doing the whole one or the branches. And if you can
What
find an
if,
answer to that way that I asked it, good luck.
well, I can definitely give you an answer. So my first question to be was, what is your goal? Are you looking to just preserve the genetics of that single plant, or are you
Hmm.
looking to try to carry on those genetics with other plants as well? Are you looking to just collect pollen and use it for later, at a different time? What is your personal goal
Yeah.
with that? And that would also apply to myself. What is it that I'm looking for? If I have a feminized plant that I only have 3 seeds of it, say, I've grown at least one of them out already to fruition, and I really like it. So I only have 2 left. So I need to take one of those plants and reverse it,
Hmm.
and then pollinate the other one.
That makes a lot of sense. And in
And you're
hindsight, it
talking
was a
you're
dumb
talking about
question.
autoflowers, right? You would do photos differently.
Yeah, photoperiods is a completely different thing. I hunt out the females for that. Then I stress test the hell out of them before I even consider breeding with anything.
Okay.
So
Whereas
once
you
I
don't
once
really
I
have that opportunity necessarily because each seed is going to be different, so you don't really have that opportunity.
um,
To,
and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to continue working them, and then eventually, when I'm happy with them, I'm going to come.
so the ones you've released right now, the ones I got, those are an F1 then.
Yes,
The
those are the
blueberry grape.
F1. Yeah.
Okay, and then so you've still got them as an F1 yourself, so you're going to take them basically and just breed them. I got you. I'm tracking. You got so much shit going on, it's hard to keep track of what is going where and who's going
It's
up and down and
It's
left
called
and
it's
right.
called copious note taking.
It's
Yeah.
yeah. It's a good thing that you name them all distinct things too, so that they never sound similar. BGG, BBG, DDD, DCB.
EAD.
I don't know. Rev, I have no idea what you're talking about right now.
Oh, I'm
I
just.
have I have the blueberry grape, which is BBG, and then funeral desserts is FD.
And then you have the
Odin Sons is OF.
BGG.
Those aren't even close. No, BGG is big green guy.
Okay, you win. Okay, my shitty attempt at a joke was.
Thank you for that, Reverend. I appreciate it. May Frog
Well,
be with you.
yeah, may Frog be with you. Um, I did want to ask though, more seriously, BGG. When you decide, or how does a project pique your interest? Like, I know from the bits and pieces of information that you so graciously drop, and as Stoney has suggested, and I'll reaffirm, following you around and collecting tidbits of knowledge is a very easy and worthwhile pursuit. But when you finally like make up your mind that you want to try something, or how does that idea start, and then how do you undergo it?
So I've grown a lot of things over the last 3, 4 years now, and I keep a lot of notes on what I grow. Um, and I have a lot of the bud from those things that I've grown over the years. And some of it gets a little older, and I'll just wash it or do whatever with it, make edibles or something. But um, So if I want to revisit something, I'll have the seeds for it. If I don't, I'll try to hunt for the seeds for it. And then I'll take something that I've already created that I really like, and I want to introduce it to other things that I feel would pair well with.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, like Odin Sons, it gets really big. They're like big, fat, dense colas. It has like a floral, fruity, earthy kind of a flavor to it. It washes pretty well, and they get, like I said, they get big. So if I have another plant, for example, Zamdelica Express is one of my favorites from Night Owl.
Mm-hmm.
I've grown it out a ton. It's one of my personal favorites, and I want but it's missing something for me as far as structure. So
Okay.
I'm working on a project right now where I'm crossing Odin Sun with Zamdelica Express.
Well, I'm
Um,
very interested in that project already.
How hard is it to breed in one specific trait? That's gotta you gotta fucking hunt through how much till you get that
with
trait in.
hundreds potentially. Um, if you find a genetic that is worked really well, like Zamdelic Express, the ones that I'm working with are the F4s. So
Okay.
those, they've been worked. That's actually one of Daz's favorites as well. Um, you can tell, it's super frosty, but a lot of the ones that I've grown out, they don't have the structure that I like personally, where Odin Sons does. So
Right.
Odin Sons makes you retarded when you smoke it.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean that in the kindest way possible. You literally, it shuts your brain off for a little bit, um, which is great for some people. Whereas Zamdelica Express, I don't know, it makes me feel normal.
Yeah.
Where normally I feel like I'm racing, or I'm always like, what's next? What's next? What's next? Let's do this. Let's do that. Kind of a thing, and it kind of normalizes. So I would like
Yeah.
to bring that effect into the structure of the Odin Sons and the size of the Odin Sons if I can.
Oh man, that sounds way more difficult than just like 100 seeds.
No, I tend to hunt more than 100 seeds when I am, but it's not so much even. It's not really even hunting through specific. So you can find structure, sure, but then you have to literally grow all of those out and then try the bud to see, does it have the effect. So sure, it has the structure, but is it still like Odin Son, or is it
Yeah.
like Zamdelic Express?
Yeah.
And in doing so, that's when I will actually breed and just pollinate a few branches, so I have seeds off of multiple plants that I like the structure on. So then
And
when I smoke those and I
If they
find the
match.
effect that I want, I can say, all right, well, Zamtelica times Odin Sons number 32 is the one that has what I'm looking for. Now I will take those seeds, and that's when I start hunting those. Because now that's just the F1 generation of that, and I want to lock that thing in, if that makes
That's
sense.
yeah.
right.
So how many attempts at crosses? Like, for instance, in that example of Odinson and I can't say that word, and I never will. The like, how many attempts? Like you used an example of 32, but in normal, how many attempts do you think you would pollinate, and then you would also smoke the rest of the bud, and only do branches? How many of those attempts normally do you think would be in one of your little runs?
Well, in the past, I'd try to do at least 100.
Jesus.
Um, and now, if I have the seeds, I'll do up to 500.
Wow.
And I'm reducing them pretty quickly. So I'm not really dealing with 500 plants the whole way through,
Of course.
because I'm looking for specific traits. I'm looking for structure. I'm looking for um, vigor. I'm looking, if something just has like weird leaves, I'm not going to use that, because those will be carried forward.
Hmm.
Um,
So you can
so
you
as
can
long
go
as
through you can go through the first rounds pretty quickly.
if I'm able to pollinate, if I'm able not pollinate, if I'm able to grow out 500, by the time they're going into flower, I've reduced that to under 100 already. So I'm not dealing with a lot and some of those other plants could be amazing and fantastic, and unfortunately I can't grow all of them out because I'm only one person. So I have to narrow it down, and it's harder to do also when you're dealing with two females and you're reversing a plant.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm dealing with males and females, it's different because I can wait a little longer to pollinate. I have to wait a little longer to pollinate, and I can do the same thing with reversing. So I'll pick, say, 6 to 10 plants out of the bunch that I want to reverse. I'll reverse all of those, and maybe 7 of them will do what I want them to do by the time they're thrown pollen. The other 3, they go away. Those get separated and put in a completely different area because I'm looking for just 1 or 2 of them to work with. The rest of the females I continue to grow out. And there's a lot of people that say, you have to start your reversals 10, 20 days before, and it helps. If I know what I'm doing, like with the funeral desserts, I'll do that because I'll start a set and then I'll reverse a bunch of them and then I'll start the next set so that by the time they're creating male pollen, the females are now ready to be pollinated, kind of thing. So in essence, when I'm doing a larger hunt, I'm actually pollinating them a little later than is ideal, but that just means I have to let them go past what normal senescence would be when they're finished, so that the seeds are finished.
That makes a lot of sense.
So you can still pollinate in late stages of flower, but you have to just run that flower longer so that the seeds have a chance to develop.
You're not going to get, if you pollinate at the perfect time, you're going to get the maximum amount of seeds. If you pollinate a little bit late, you're going to get less. But I'm okay with that because I'm looking for specific things, and I'm not necessarily going to release those anyway. I'm going to hunt through those as well, especially if I'm trying to create something and I'm looking for a specific tree. So when I take, let's say the last round that I released, there were 5 different things that I put out there. 4 of them were feminized. 1 of them I only sold 5 packs of. Because I didn't have enough. I wanted to continue it moving forward, but I wanted to give people the opportunity to have some of those as well because they're freaking awesome.
Was that the one that was for Pause for Cause?
The Cause for Pause, yes.
Yeah.
That was so it was Odin Sons. It was Fenrir times Odin Sons times Fenrir. Sorry, Odin Sons was the receiving team. And it just has something special about it. My testers, the people that actually grew it out and had it, all of them are coming back saying this is one of them that you need to pick. And so in that whole group, I had 13 different crosses that I made. I was only happy with 4, let's say 4 of them that were feminized projects, and then the blueberry grape, which was completely separate from the feminized project. So you can say I had 13, and only 4 of them made the cut.
Yeah, wow, that's doing it the big green guy way right there. That's why we love you.
Well, a few of them, they looked wonky, or people were having issues with them. One of them was throwing male part, and I'm like, no, I'm not having anything to do with that. So there are a few from that set that I do want to move forward with, but they need a little more work.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to release something, say, to the public per se, that people are going to have issues with. I try to grow stuff that is like the funeral desserts. One of the things I really like about it, and I could have called it bulletproof, because I really feel like that plant it's impossible to Johnny that plant.
That's amazing.
So that's why I call that my baby. I would say when anybody asks, okay, I'm a beginner grower, what do you have that's good for beginner growers? That's the one I point them to every single time.
Well, I think you'll have to add me onto the list of people that suggests that for beginner growers now, then, because that sounds amazing.
Well, grow it out first, and then you'll be able to give personal testimony.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, she's in line.
So these blueberry grapes, they're regular seeds. How do you grow regular autoflower seeds? I think a lot of people are intimidated by that. What's your process in doing that?
So if I'm just growing them for myself, I'll put 2 seeds in a pot. I'll grow them. I'll direct sow. And typically what you'll find is you'll get a male and a female. I don't know why it works that way. Most of the time it does. Um, I can count on one hand the amount of times I've had two males.
Wow.
Um, and, there's been a few times when I've had two females. And then I'll either pick one of the females to grow out. Maybe the one of them's a little more vigorous than the other. Or I'll grow them both out, train them away from each other. That's kind of how I handle that situation. So that's the easiest thing. You just plant two of them. Or you can plant one. If it's a male, you freaking rip it out, throw another seed in there. That's, it's, if you're looking now for people that are looking just, maybe they only can grow two plants at a time, because that's all that, maybe they have a 2x4 tent or something and that's all they're growing in.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably, if they want to grow regs, and I wouldn't steer anybody away from it, but I would use the two seeds per pot kind of technique. If they happen to get two males, that puts them behind, which can be frustrating to people because if they're growing and they're on a clock,
Yeah.
they only have so much time to grow and harvest their stuff before they run out in most cases. And they're, I don't want to see somebody have to go to a dispensary and buy subpar stuff when they could be growing their own.
Right.
So if someone's actually worried about that, then I would probably steer them towards FEMS. Just stick with FEMS. But if for someone that's not afraid of that, or they're not, maybe they don't smoke quite as much, regs can have that vigor that sometimes FEMS do not have, and you'll get a larger plant in the end. But you also have to worry about the male-female thing. I mean, it's super easy to identify a male from a female. So if all of a sudden it starts throwing this thing that doesn't look like a pistol,
Yeah.
it's a male.
It's a
It's there's millions of pictures online of male flowers and female flowers. If anybody ever has any questions, hey, is this a male? Send me a picture of it. I'll let you know. I mean, it's not rocket science. So
Johnny sends him a picture of his male every night.
he does, and I'm still he needs to use the microscope because I'm not real. I can't identify it. It's looking female to me. I'm just saying.
Hands too shaky.
That's probably what it is. Yeah.
That's the reason
Or
I
the
can't use it.
or the tweezers.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm like,
funny. I have a pair of tweezers in my hand right now. Actually, it's freaking hilarious.
I say, is that a male part or is that a pistol? I'm not really sure. That could just be a hair. I'm not.
Yeah. Who
So I don't
knows?
know. I mean, it is what it is. Keep trying, Johnny. I mean, it's fine. I'll be able to identify it, but my phone only zooms in so much.
Moving on. What you got working on? What projects you working on? You got anything you can talk about or haven't talked about? What do you got going on?
Well, before you answer that question, I just want to talk about how smooth of a transition that was. That was like being run over by a bus.
No, it was basically like, fuck you, Rev. We're done talking about the shit you want to talk about. I want to talk about my shit now.
I know.
And that's fine. That's
That
fine.
is fine.
He didn't
I've
Johnny
been-
it up. He's been sitting quietly. He's been behaving himself.
Exactly.
You basically talk shit about him, saying that he's sending me dick pics, and now he's, you know what? He's basically saying, you know what, Reverend, that was not very nice, and I would like to ask Big Green Guy a few questions myself.
Yeah, he actually just sent me a text that said, if you don't stop talking, I'm leaving the show. So I'll be...
He sent me the same text.
He's sad.
Anyway, so the projects that I have I'm working on a few different projects. I have some new auto fem projects I'm working on using the Odin Sunstime Fenrir. I'm excited for that one because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to reverse that. I didn't have a lot of seeds, and I had not reversed that combination yet, especially where I had sold some of them. Like I said, I sold 5 packs. And so I'm excited that reversal was successful. Now I have to wait and see if the pollen was viable. Hopefully it is. It looks good. And I've pollinated, I believe, 9 other plants with it. I'm not going to reveal what those are yet because I don't know if they're going to be any good. And I don't want to talk shit about anybody's genetics. I think the project I'm most excited about is the sauce. That one is being reversed right now.
The rumors are spreading around it so quickly, like fire. It's awesome. It's like one person mentions the sauce, and then everyone's like, "Oh, dude, have you heard of the sauce?"
Well, it's nice that people are still talking about it. I found for myself, it gives me help. I suffer from chronic migraines, and it's the only thing that I found that actually helps. So if I feel the one coming on, I can smoke this, and what it basically does to me is it relaxes my face and like the muscles in my head. Gives a little bit of that like headband vibe to it, but without wheeze, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, and I sent some to Captain Autoflower for his wife who suffers with TMJ, and she found relief from it. I gave some to Monster, and he tried it, and he was able to find relief from it. I sent some to Rooter Alistair. He passed it along to a friend of his that suffers from, I forget what the ailment is now, and I apologize. I should know what that is. But he found relief from it. So it's not just me.
Yeah.
So I wanted to move forward with it, and it's not something I'm going to make any money off of when I release it. I want to put it out there really cheap. They're going to be feminized, and any proceeds are going to go to that cause. So people are literally going to be paying them, not me.
That's so amazing.
Are you selfing her?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know you were reversing. I wasn't sure if you were collecting the pollen and throwing it at stuff, or you're going to reverse her with it.
I'm going to collect some of the pollen because I have some other moms that I've been collecting that I would like to pollinate with some of her and see where that can potentially go. And yeah, one of them that you might be excited about would be apples and bananas. So I'm hoping to kind of have an applesauce kind of thing. Maybe,
that's so cool.
If I can
if it works.
Get the two of them to play nice. So once the seeds for the sauce are ready, those will go, I'll grow a bunch of them out, but they'll also go right out to my testers. Any of them, my testers that grow photoperiods will get them. Because I want to be able to test and get as many out there as I can. My testers pretty much are just going to grow them without doing the quote-unquote test. I'll be doing all that kind of stuff in it. So I want them to grow them out how they normally would grow to see if the effects and things are universal with the offspring.
Yeah.
If they are, great. If not, then I got to go back to the drawing board.
That's kind of interesting. Instead, they're testing the plant, but they're just testing the effect of the plant after the fact, instead of having to put any testing into it during the grow. That's pretty cool.
Well, I mean, they're giving me invaluable data as far as germination rates. Now, with a photoperiod, it's not really timed sex, but it's more so what's the vigor like on the plant? How quickly are you up-potting it? How quickly are you needing to up-pot it, kind of thing? Those can vary too, because if somebody's using mycos and somebody's not, then their plant is going to be a little more vigorous than someone else's. But in general, I want to know the vegetative phase. Most of them I want to veg for at least 30 days and then flip. So we can see structure on that. We can see bigger. They'll let me know, okay, you sent me 10 seeds, but only 8 of them popped. Well, that's not very good. I want 100% germination if possible. So yeah, and then obviously through flower, are these like really hungry ladies? Are they light feeders? Then I'm continuing to look for structure. How long do they stretch for? How much do they stretch? Did they double in size? Did they triple in size? Are they a bushier plant? Are they really tall and lanky? What do the leaves look like? There's a lot of different things that my test team can actually give me back in data that I can do myself, but I would rather be putting these plants, in a tent with something that is prone to powdery mildew and seeing, all right, is this PM resistant? I would rather be raising the temperature up to 100 degrees for a few days and then dropping it down to 30 for a day. Raising the RH up so it's literally raining in the tent for a couple days and then eliminating the humidity altogether. I want to stress the shit out of these plants to see if they're going to throw into texture. So that's my job. I have a whole room set up just for that. My testers don't, and my testers are still growing medicine for themselves. So I don't want to have to rely. Now they're allowed to test in any way, shape, or form that they want. They can top, they can super crop, they can raise and lower, they can do whatever experiments they want on the plant. They can have babies inside of them. I don't care. As long as they're giving me some other data as well. It's up to them whether they want to test them really hard. And I have a tester from Australia named Oregon, and he tests everything, and he does the tests, and he's an amazing grower. Um, I haven't been able to send him anything recently because it's number one, extremely expensive to ship to Australia,
Oh, I
and
bet.
customs is a bitch. It's kind of hard to get through customs sometimes. So I'll get a little Lego box and I'll stuff the stuff in there and I'll send it off to him like that, and that has been successful so far in getting through. So yeah, that's I guess what I feel comfortable discussing at the moment. I do have some other projects. I'm hunting for a lot of different moms right now, but that's in the as far as the photo periods are concerned, that's kind of in an earlier phase.
So normally we ask some average questions. We ask people how they got started, and I think you've told this story probably on every podcast you've ever been on. But do you have
I think
anything
I have.
like, yeah? But what got you into a relationship with cannabis? Not necessarily growing, but a relationship with cannabis.
So I've been around it my whole life. My aunts and uncles all smoked when we were kids. I've literally been around it forever. Um, so there was never a taboo. And my first experience smoking it was I was 14, and it was with my nephew's father. I had redone the basement in my house to make it into like a little bachelor pad, if you want to call it that. At 14, I'm like a super stud, right? And so he came downstairs because he wanted to smoke, and he's like, "Hey, you want to smoke some weed?" And I'm like, "Sure." So he had one of these makeshift pipe things that he like built himself with a little metal screen and shit in it, and we smoked out of that. And I took like probably 3 or 4 just monster freaking rips. And on the third one, I started coughing uncontrollably. And now my mother's right upstairs, and he's like, "You gotta be quiet, you gotta stop." And I'm like coughing. We went into like where the furnace was downstairs, and I'm like coughing my brains out in there. And how she never heard me, I have no idea. But he ended up, I calmed down a little bit. He went upstairs and he's like, "I'll be back to check on you in a little bit." And I was high as a motherfucker. And some people don't get high off the first time. I was ripped. Like the only time I can remember being higher than that was actually at the Emerald Cup.
Ah, yes. That's
So that was ridiculous. So anyway, I had a trundle bed, which is the bed where you can pull out the bottom part
okay.
and then it slides underneath the bed, whatever. Well, for some reason, I felt it was a good idea for me to get on the trundle part and then slide myself under the bed. I felt comfortable in that situation. Well, he came back downstairs and he's looking everywhere for me, and he's like, "Oh shit!" You take off. What the hell's going on? And I start kind of giggling, but I couldn't answer him. But I started laughing, and he pulls the bed. He's like, "What the fuck are you doing under there?" And I lost it. I just started laughing so hard, and yeah, that was my first experience with it. And even though that was my first experience, I still wanted to do it again.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, as far as growing it, I have told that story before, but I was hooked as soon as I grew my first plants. I knew I wanted to do it, and then when I saw the effects and how much it helped my wife, that's when I knew I wanted to try to create something to help her even more. And that was after listening to a lot of podcasts like the Autoflower podcast with Chad, and him listening to Dan Jimmy talk about breeding and starting to, really dive into different kind of podcasts and watching different videos and how people go about trying to find different characteristics, and then trying to develop my own style of breeding while still staying true to how, people quote unquote feel it's
Now,
meant to be done.
would you
I
say
guess.
you emulate any one style, or have you kind of just like bastardized all of them, created one of your
I,
own complete?
I I would say probably that, just
Nice.
because I don't think a lot of breeders out there test as hard as I do. Not that some of them don't, because I don't know everyone's testing protocols. I just know my own. I know Firebudge Genetics. He has a full test team, and they test because I've been on his test team. So I should say we test his gear hard. Um, so that I guess that's I don't know. I think I take the advice or the strategies that different breeders will use, and I try to incorporate what I feel fits my style of growing and breeding.
Yeah, you're selective. Like you choose what would work with you and what wouldn't.
Right. But every breeder is searching for something different. So I can't emulate someone entirely and
Right.
still have my own style. If I'm going to breed like, say, Rasta Jeff, right, Irish genetics, I'm going to breed like him. Well, he's already doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm just
makes
becoming
sense.
Rasta Jeff. I'm not
Yeah.
being the big green guy. I'm not, not being myself. I'm not being true to myself. And
Yep.
it's important for me in this process not to lose who I am.
It's ultimately felt in the final medicine too. If you're passionate about it, I think it shows. So if you're just copying someone else, it's not going to be as good, because what motivation do you have? You're just trying to copy that dude.
Exactly. And and I didn't want to be. I saw a lot of, especially in the autoflower community, I saw a lot of these breeders and fly by night breeders that are coming out, and I think they started with good intention, and then because I want to believe that everybody starts off with good intentions. I don't think people start off trying to screw people over.
Yeah.
So maybe they create something that actually is good, and has some benefits and warrants further exploration.
Hmm.
And then they see some success with that, and all of a sudden they get money hungry or fame hungry or something. So the next thing you know, they're releasing 15 different new crosses that they just made. And it's like, wait a minute, this you literally just released this other thing. I saw you grow this plant out on IG, and now you got 50. None of these have been grown out yet. How do you know
Yeah.
what they're going to look like? How do you know if they're going to herm? How do you know anything about them? You don't know what they taste like, look like. You don't know nothing. And people, because of the hype of that original thing, buy into that, and they purchase all these, grow them out, and unfortunately, there's a lot of duds that come out of that. Instead of taking the time, and that's why a breeder like Alabrije or Outcast Genetics, these guys are doing the work. They're putting the work in. So when you get something from them, same thing with Night Owl and Mephisto, but those are on much larger scales. Um, so when you're talking about like a small time craft breeder, there's very few people I feel that are actually putting in the true work and are willing to scrap an entire project because it didn't work out. Uh, that's why I said, I did 13 crosses. Only 4 of them made the cut. That means 9 of them didn't. And I could have put them all out there.
Math.
Yes,
Why are we always doing
math.
math on this fucking podcast?
Well, it's either that or meth. And, we had a problem with that last time, John.
You
We
said
got-
that's
we-
what you were here for, was the math.
The
I said
intervention.
math.
Damn
Math.
it. I misunderstood that one.
That's how we got you to be. That's how we were able to get him on to agree to this. We had to convince Johnny this was a meth episode so he could show up. Just kidding.
Anything to get over this damn flu.
I was gonna say at this point he'd take meth.
You're talking about the possibility and just people throwing shit together. Have you guys seen this new thing going around, this white ice diesel?
I
I
saw a
have
picture.
not. Oh,
of
yes,
it.
I have. I saw a picture. And honestly, I don't know if it's real or not.
I
Yeah, is it-
don't think it is either. It seems like the biggest scam. Like, how in the fuck could you grow something like that? Like, how?
I've seen white buds before like that, and it's usually light leaching. It's not a natural thing, so that's why I don't believe that it's an actual solid genetic. If you have a bud that typically looks like that, you've burnt all of the trichome head to a
Yeah.
point where you're not really going to get very high off of it.
Yeah, defeated the purpose.
Right, and
Something's
who
wrong.
knows? Maybe somebody found something. I would like to believe that it's not just some weird hype thing or something. Maybe somebody found something really cool.
I don't
There's
know.
purple, there's blue, there's reds, there's orange. There's
My
different
old
colors.
man sent me a picture. The leaves are white.
Yes, and that's typically a sign of light leaching.
I was like, this does not, and they're like all white, completely white. It's like, dude, there's something wrong there, because how is that gonna chlorophyll and like
Yeah, how does
eat
that
the
work in
sun?
nature?
Yeah, but
Exactly.
I don't know. He said he ordered some seeds. I'm like, God damn it, dude, you just got.
I think,
Oh.
and I think that's a shame, which is why on Your Average Grow we like to highlight good breeders. So much so on our Discord, the big green guy has his own section, so you can go check out.
Yeah, for
his
some
stuff.
reason.
Yeah,
For some
I
reason
did
I
it
do.
because
You said good breeders, so I'm not really sure why. I know I was supposed to be on here just to tell Johnny to go fuck himself, but
no,
it turned into
it's
something completely different.
it's actually funny is when I did bring you on here to insult Johnny and for you two to argue, but I also brought you on here to give you big ups for being one of the coolest guys in the freaking community. Not only are you a solid breeder with all your testing and just a great source of knowledge, but almost everything you do is at some point related to charity. And it blows my mind how charitable you are and how down to earth you are, and yet
Well,
so perfectly mean to Johnny. I love it. You're a perfect person.
well, Johnny doesn't feel love the way the rest of us feel love. Johnny feels love by telling him to go fuck himself, by insulting his mother, by telling him that he looks like a crazed maniac, lunatic, you know, horny bastard all the time. Things like that. That's how Johnny feels love. So I want to show everybody in their own way. I want everybody to feel love. So that's why I treat Johnny as nicely as I do.
And he appreciates it.
No, but
And
So
all
you want to
those,
shout out any of these charities you're working on? You want to talk about them at all?
yeah, I was gonna say,
this,
can
I
you
mean,
can
the
you
only
go into
one.
the?
I don't want to speak for them, but I know those are the cause for pause. They typically pick a different no-kill shelter or rescue all around the country, and they've only done a couple of them. The first time they raised, I want to say $7,000 or $8,000.
Wow.
That went to one, and I believe the first one was either in Washington or California.
Oh, that's
The
awesome.
last one that they did was actually for the Bulldog Rescue in Detroit, Michigan,
Oh, cool.
and they raised almost $19,000.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
so
awesome.
they're in the process of setting up an LLC so that people would be able to um, contribute right to that. When my project and stuff is ready to when the sauce, if it comes to fruition and is ready, um, it probably will be sometime in the summer.
Right on.
Unfortunately, it'll miss the outside season, but it is what it is. I'm not going to rush it.
And you're a great representation for the community. There's not a person in this community than you.
Well, I don't know if I can really say that. I don't know everybody in the community, but
No, I said it. I said it.
I,
You don't get a fucking. You don't get a choice in the matter. It's a compliment. You take it. Just
okay,
fucking
well,
take it. You're a good dude.
I'm not Johnny. I'm just not going to take it.
Take that.
Fine.
But
Have it your way. You're a terrible human being and a tremendous asshole.
Here.
Wow, that's kind of mean.
Yeah, a little bit. See.
No, what I was going to say is I feel like the community has given me so much that it's just the right thing to do to give back.
Yeah. You're.
So go frog yourself.
I do hate to bring this up, but this is our Christmas episode, BGG.
Oh, happy Christmas.
Yeah, so happy Christmas, dude. Merry Christmas to everybody. The only reason I said that is so now I can officially call it a Christmas episode. But I have a couple thoughts rolling around in my head, and I'm considering having to self a plant to get more seeds, right? Because that's the first step in any breed that you do anyway, right?
Okay.
Start with a ton of seeds. So I've got a 2x3 and a 2x4. I've got no need for medicine or anything like that. How would you advise that I start?
Now you're just looking to self like a single plant. You have a plant that you love and you only have one seed left, so you want to make sure you're gonna self this.
Yes.
All right. So first off, don't take any advice from Johnny.
Okay.
Secondly, start growing that plant out. I'm assuming it's a feminized seed.
Yeah.
As soon as you see the first pistil, you're going to spray that plant with your SDS solution.
Okay.
I can walk you through exactly what the process is to do that outside the podcast.
Perfect.
Once you've created the concentrate, you then mix it up. Usually it's a 10-to-1 mixture using distilled water. So you're actually only using one part of this concentrate.
Okay.
You're gonna. I would spray the entire plant. because you're still going to get pistils on that plant. It's not going to become all of a sudden completely male.
Yeah.
So as that continues to progress, you'll start to see the male parts as well as the female parts. Once the male parts start coming out, it's usually around the 5th spray or so. You spray it 2 more times. As long as it's been done successfully, that pollen that comes out of there will be viable. You don't have to collect it. You don't literally have to do anything. You just now let that plant continue to go. Once that plant starts dropping pollen, that's day 1 for your seed.
Okay.
It takes at least 5 weeks for the seeds to fully mature. Some of them take longer. So what you would do is, as they progress, you're going to pluck a couple out and look at them. Are they tiger striped? Are they dark? If they are, you can harvest that plant. You can let it go another week or so, and that's fine.
Okay.
Just to let some of the other ones kind of catch up. If you pull a seed and it's still white or it pops within your fingers, it's not ready. Let it go longer until you're seeing a darker seed that has the tiger striping, or some of them don't have tiger striping. So it's not necessarily that is what you're looking for. You're looking for a fully mature, usually a medium to darker brown color, a harder seed. And if you can basically crush the seed, and if it has the zygote inside, then it's a mature seed. And you can you then dry the plant way past where you typically would dry a plant. You want that thing to basically, you touch it, it turns to dust. That it makes it a lot easier to collect seeds that way.
I would imagine.
Collect those seeds, and now you have that genetic again. It's not going to be exactly like the mom, but that original plant, the genetics of it do exist in those seeds, so you can hunt through those and still find them. And you're going to have a lot of the characteristics of that. So.
Perfect.
But you're
Excellent,
not
thank you.
guaranteed, like selfing a plant isn't guaranteed to have the exact same plant. It's not like cloning.
No, you won't have the exact same plant. But you'll find a lot of the characteristics that you really enjoyed from that plant in the offspring.
Okay.
And you may find something even better.
Very
That's
nice.
excellent.
Well, you got another question, Padre?
No, he answered that. I'm not anywhere near ready for when I'm going to start this project, but when I do, BGG, would you mind coming back and answering even more questions? I'm sure we could get plenty.
I totally would, and I will send you the stuff you need to make your SDS solution as well.
Oh, absolutely. You're the best, man.
You're just going to have to supply the gallon jug of distilled water.
Oh, well, that's asking too much. We're out. I'm just kidding.
We're out. All of California.
All of California. We did have a shortage recently, like a couple months ago, maybe longer, but that's for a subject for a podcast that no one wants to listen to.
When am I going to get these Johnny questions?
I was just gonna come in with them.
I've been waiting the whole show. I was hoping we were going to open up with this, so it was getting very sad over here that I haven't heard these Johnny questions. Checks. I prepared.
In Johnny's defense, I had to spend about 90% of the episode fucking it up till we could get to this point.
You're forgiven.
Thank you.
I've absolved you of your sins.
That's right, buddy.
I am not an ordained minister like you or whatever, reverend.
It's okay. I'm just an ordained reverend.
Yeah, it's all the same. Doesn't matter.
It's not real any way you look at it.
Thank you for your service.
Jesus. What was the
Actually,
first
I should be
seed you
saying
ever...
that. I should be saying that to Johnny. Johnny, thank you for your service.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Johnny.
Both of you, all of us, we are great.
Oh, you were the worst deflector. It's just like freaking the big green guy over there. I pay you guys compliments, and you just make it hard, and it's just terrible. But you need to
That's
take
what she said.
I don't know why I bother with
Terribly hard or hardly terrible?
See, yep. This is where it's
all right. What was my seed, and who did I put it in? Right. That was the first one.
Close. No, we already got that answer when you guys went on the expo trip. What was the first seed you ever planted, and why was it an apple seed?
Well, I've never actually planted an apple seed, but I do have a good story for that. But let me tell you, the first seed was actually a bulb, and it was a Stargazer Lily.
Ooh,
Was
that's
the
my
first
mother's
seed that I ever
favorite
planted.
flower.
It was my sister's favorite flower, and she passed away about 9 years ago.
I'm sorry for
So
your
I,
loss.
I had planted them prior to that, but I planted this particular seed because that was her favorite.
That's awesome.
But as far as the apple thing is concerned, I actually bought an apple tree that I grew out at my old property. And on that apple tree was 5 different types of apples that were grafted onto the one tree.
I've
Oh,
seen
whoa.
that
So,
before. Yeah.
The
so that was pretty cool. So that I don't believe you. I mean, you can plant apple seeds, but they're going to be garbage. So I would never plant an apple seed. That's a dumb question.
that's
Anyway, what's the next question?
What's your favorite pie and why is it apple?
So my favorite pie is actually a cherry pie,
Yeah.
but I do love apple pies, and my stepdaughter makes an amazing like apple crisp pie. So it's like an apple pie / apple crisp, and it's the most amazing pie that you'll ever have.
That sounds amazing. But cherry, man, cherry pie is like so bitter. How do you wash that down?
It's because I'm so sweet. I need to have something bitter every day.
That makes terrible sense. And what's your favorite fruit and why is it apple?
I'm not a big fan of apples. Reverend,
yeah.
my favorite is actually a ruby red grapefruit.
There you go. That's
Wow.
a winner right there.
I did
think,
not see that coming. Who in the fuck favors a
I was gonna say
grapefruit?
that might be the best citrus variety winner so far, because oranges we've had orange, but ruby red grapefruit that's killer, dude. Do you cut it in half and eat it with a spoon?
Sugar.
I will do that sometimes, and yes, I sprinkle a little sugar on there
Yeah.
too. But I'll eat it. I'll peel it and eat it just like an orange. Same kind of thing too. I don't know. There's something about it brings back like really happy childhood memories and happy, tingly feelings in my groin area and stuff. So it's the way to go.
Time out. You eat a ruby red grapefruit like an orange?
Yeah, why not?
Wait, you have a problem with that? Not the tingling in his junk?
No. I'm just, they're fucking huge. Just want
So
to
is
see.
he.
I know, but I just now want to see him just sitting on his porch, just eating this massive grapefruit like a fucking orange.
Yeah, you peel it and then
It's quite literally it's
Good
like
up.
that scene in the Avengers. You're Thanos, dude. You're just
you have
massive.
like you have the seeds in there. You got to pop them out, but then I'll actually peel the skin off and just eat the inside part too of each individual slice. It's a process.
I was going to say it sounds like you have plenty of free afternoons to eat a grapefruit, I guess.
I honestly couldn't tell you the last time I had a chance to eat a grapefruit. I'm really missing it now. Thanks for bringing it up.
Sorry, I'm continuing to ruin this episode, even in.
Well, Johnny was the one that asked the question, so it's his fault.
Oh, that's right.
You're welcome.
You were on my side about the whole citrus thing.
I agree. I mean, that is a fabulous. The grapefruit's awesome. Grapefruit seed extract is an awesome thing to help fight infections too, and it's just an awesome fruit. Another win for citrus is a good day.
Absolutely.
Johnny, do you have any final questions for your best friend, the big green guy?
Oh, don't go there. Moss is going to get really jealous of him calling me his best friend.
I'd be fighting them both back with a stick. No, man. I think we've touched on everything. Any questions that I had for him?
Yeah, I've got plenty, but I'm being selfish and holding him off till next time so we don't take up all his time.
Yeah, I mean, I've got more specific questions, but we can make a whole episode out of it.
And we will, because not only is he a friend of ours and a friend of the podcast, but we're going to exploit him for our benefit.
Wow, I'm going to be exploited again?
Again. No, we appreciate you coming on to the podcast. Thank you for being such a good friend and seriously a great guy in the community and doing it the right way, man. We really appreciate it.
Well, I think you guys are doing an amazing job with the podcast, something that's different. And, I don't know if it's because Johnny's like slightly special or what. Maybe people feel bad for him, so they listen. I'm not really sure what the reason is, but there's something that keeps people coming back. And I'm sure your statistics and things that you have that you can look at in your podcast and stuff show that maybe you're gaining more momentum and things, but it's because you guys are real, number one. It's not you're not out there bullshitting people. It's just you know what you know and you'll share that, or at least what you think you know, and you share that. And you know what you don't know. And that's you're not bullshitting people by trying to be out there being like, oh well, we'll do this, and this we'll do this. Um and it shows. It's genuine and it shows usually funny in spite of Johnny. And you bringing on like people like Stoney and Mac and Potts and those guys and everything. People that are again pillars in the community, just great people to begin with. Is good. It's nice when you guys do that roundtable thing and everything. I really like that. So
We
keep it up.
appreciate it, man.
Good
Well,
work.
thank you.
Yeah, man. Thanks for all the kind words.
Yeah. It's probably the first positive review of ourselves we've led on the air, so I don't know how to
That's
feel
not
about
true.
it.
I literally left you a positive review that you never read on the podcast, and I'm actually really sad that it was never read live.
I promise you that's not the case, and you're lying because we've never received a positive review. But since this is Christmas, and it's also
Moving
Sunday.
along.
Yeah, moving on, and it's also Sunday. I'm
I'm
gonna.
fucking baked.
Yeah, I've been fucked this whole episode. Anywho, I have to do the sermon. It's Christmas. No swearing on Christmas.
Oh, my fucking bad. Oh, the brownie finally kicked in, and I think the caffeine did too.
Also,
Watch
we're
out!
leaving.
Here comes Johnny.
We're leaving all this in too, so
Brownie?
you guys can see it. Yeah. Anywho, guys, we're in church.
Oh yes.
Sorry,
Let us pray.
It's Christmas.
I never did good with church. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I got kicked out of one. I got excommunicated, baby. Anywho, so
Sorry for another day.
yeah, it's Christmas. So I'm gonna talk about a dear friend of mine. My dad had this buddy named Dale. Dale was probably one of the coolest dudes you could ever meet, but he was just always getting himself into trouble, right? And towards the end of his life, he had a bit of some issues and ran into. He was always in legal trouble, always in and out of jail. But my dad always loved him, and he was always around. They'd known each other from high school. And I remember growing up, we just thought he was crazy Uncle Dale, and we always were just kind of made fun of him, not in a mean way, but just, oh, Dale, he was the kind of guy where my dad would give him work around the house to redo a sprinkler system or something, and he'd come back with like 50 parts and be like, I don't know where these went. That kind of guy. Great guy, but always willing to do something for you. But the moral of this whole meandering story I told is I think everybody should be more like Dale, because when Dale passed away, the only thing everybody always said about him was that dude would give you the shirt off of his back. And I think that's great. So this Christmas, I think you should be more like Dale.
And walk around shirtless.
Amen, dude.
Oh, the dad bods.
Anywho, don't be a dick. Mind your own business and go with Frog. Thank you, BGG. Be like Dale, dude.
Thank you guys. And Johnny, go fuck yourself.